Movie making is a funny thing. Sometimes a movie's made with the intention of being good, but it ends up being bad. Then there are movies where they make it with the intention of being bad. Now, bad is subjective. Also, not to be confused with something like Birdemic, The Room, or anything from Neil Breen. Those are movies where they're being made thinking they were good, but were really bad. The movies on this list are movies that were made knowing that they were bad and celebrating that. While it's not easy to make, occasionally you will get a gem of a movie that on paper is bad, but really, it's just delightful to watch. Here's 5 intentionally bad movies that you may have missed or forgotten about. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes! Okay, I'm starting off with an easy one. While many of you may have heard of this film, I'm not sure that all of you have seen it. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is a 1978 parody film from director J. Stephen Pierce and John DeBello. The movie was intentionally made to goof on the overwhelming amount of B monster movies from the time. It revolves around tomatoes that have become sentient and are killing humans all over the world. A team of experts is trying to find a way to stop the tomatoes before they destroy mankind. So this also has a little bit of satire about the end of the world movies too. They filmed the movie in and around San Diego, California on a budget of less than $100,000. The movie hit theaters on October 20th, 1978. Critics, not surprisingly, didn't like it. They called it a one-joke spoof, lazy, and a missed opportunity. Meanwhile, regular audiences saw what the film was supposed to be and laughed at it and with it. It's gone on to be a major cult classic, and while it may not be as revered as parodies like Airplane, it's still appreciated for being one of the earliest examples of a movie that was intentionally made just to be silly. In the years that followed its release, it continued to rise in popularity, leading to numerous sequels. 1988's Return of the Killer Tomatoes, 1990's Killer Tomatoes Strike Back, and 1991's Killer Tomatoes Eat France. There was also an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes cartoon, and a variety of video game adaptations. Return of the Killer Tomatoes had a young George Clooney in his largest movie role up to that point, although he often dismisses the film in interviews. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was released on DVD and remastered on Blu-ray with tons of extras. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi. It's also on YouTube. Last year I saw it screened at the Mahoning Drive-In, and it was just as funny as I remembered. Bad CGI Sharks. Bad CGI Sharks is a 2019 comedy film from director Majama. The movie's a little bit of what you would expect and a lot of what you wouldn't. Bad CGI Sharks is about the relationship troubles between two brothers. Oh yes, and bad CG sharks. The brothers are working on a movie script that comes to life and starts trying to kill them with a poorly rendered CG shark. It starts off where you would expect, a pretty girl in her underwear getting eaten by a CG shark. It then veers off in ways that I wasn't expecting. The movie frequently breaks the fourth wall with Bernardo, the director, but not really, who shows up to talk about what's going on and mess with what's happening within the film. It's meta, but not in a pretentious way. In a, yes, we are all well aware that this is very silly way. I never heard of this film until the creators brought it to my attention. At first, I had it confused with the similarly titled Bad CGI Gator from 2023. Full Moon got the idea from Bad CG Sharks, and in keeping with the spirit of old-school filmmaking, they ripped it off. Although Bad CG Gator isn't some meta-horror, it's more straightforward horror comedy with intentionally bad visual effects. Bad CGI Sharks isn't gonna work for everyone, because I think most who are expecting a film poking fun at itself with bad visual effects may not totally vibe with the main arc of the two brothers. It's a weird movie, and at first I wasn't sure how to feel about it, but as time went on, it started to click more with me. I think I wasn't in the right headspace the first time I saw it because I was expecting something more like, well, Bad CGI Gator. It won me over on the second viewing. I'm not trying to oversell it. I mean, it is a movie that is intentionally bad. However, it does manage to somehow make that work. With Bernardo showing up and messing with the film, it breaks it up and adds a good bit of silliness. I had fun with it, and I think if you give it a chance, you may too. The movie's streaming on Plex and something called Midnight Pulp. It's sometimes listed as Shark because apparently one of the distributors hated the original name. The movie did get a physical release, and you can pick up a copy on SRS Cinema, DVD, or Blu-ray. It's currently on sale, and they're clearing out the remaining copies they have before the movie relocates to a new distributor. Some clips are on YouTube, but not the whole movie. Iron Sky. Iron Sky is a 2012 sci-fi comedy from director Timo Vuorensula. After World War II, Nazis fled the Earth and built bases on the dark side of the moon. Now here we are decades later, and the Fourth Reich is returning to take over the Earth. And comedy ensues. The movie was an absolute goofy satire that naturally offended a bunch of people. One would think that a movie about a secret Nazi base on the moon was obviously not a film that was meant to be taken seriously. I mean, it has President Stephanie Paul, who's an obvious parody of Sarah Palin. Production on the film started all the way back in 2006. The company made a proof-of-concept teaser trailer and shopped it around looking for backers. It took a few years, and the film didn't go into production until 2010. The movie premiered at the 62nd Annual Berlin International Film Festival. It ended up being one of the most expensive Finnish films ever made. There was even a video game tie-in, Iron Sky Invasion. It was a space fighter sim that had lots of FMV clips of characters from the movie. I was expecting it to be absolutely horrible, like most game tie-ins, but apparently, this one's okay. Not good, not bad, just okay. Reviews seem to say that it's a fairly average game, and its biggest problem is that it's too repetitive and too short. There was even a comic book and a board game. Anyway, back to the movie. Despite it getting trashed by the critics, audiences enjoyed it, and they made plans for a sequel. This time, they crowdfunded the movie through Indiegogo and raised over $600,000. They did need to find outside financing and were able to secure a budget close to $13 million. After numerous delays, the sequel was released in March of 2019. The sequel did not live up to expectations, and due to some copyright issues, the production company filed for bankruptcy in 2020. The movie is not available for streaming, however, the Asylum mockbuster, Nazis at the Center of the Earth, is on Tubi. The film and its sequel are both on DVD and Blu-ray. The Velocipastor. This movie is not what you're thinking. Going by the cover, I was assuming it was going to be something like ThanksKilling or any number of sharksploitation films. The Velocipastor, however, is something else entirely in the best possible way. It's all done very tongue-in-cheek, and some of the best gags are jokes related to the effects, which I won't spoil. The movie started as a short Grindhouse-style trailer that the director made as a film school project in 2010. It was later adapted into a full feature. It's about a priest who's scratched with a piece of amber and gradually turns into a velociraptor. While going through this, he fights evil, falls in love, defeats an evil cult, and battles ninjas. The big showdown at the end is one of the most unexpectedly hilarious things I've ever seen, and I don't want to spoil it. The movie was a labor of love that was written, produced, directed, and edited by Brendan Steer. According to an AMA on Reddit, the director said the title came from an autocorrect on his phone. His approach to writing was the FLCL method, of just throwing in a ton of shit you love and having fun with it. He wrote the screenplay in 3 days and barely changed anything after that. On top of everything else, the movie has a killer soundtrack with a bunch of alt-rock-ish bands. It totally fits the tone of the film. The movie was released on August 13th, 2019. It was made on a budget of about $11,000, but looks way better than that. I'm not saying that it matches some $100 million productions, but I was expecting this to be in the triple digits, so I'm shocked at how low it was. The movie is currently streaming on Amazon Prime and Peacock. It's also on YouTube, free with ads. It did get a Blu-ray release, but it's out of print. ThanksKilling. Now, ThanksKilling, on the other hand, is exactly what you think it is. ThanksKilling is a 2008 black comedy horror film from director Jordan Downey. The movie's about a deranged talking killer turkey that murders people around Thanksgiving. Right away, the movie lets you know what you're in for. as the turkey kills a topless pilgrim girl in 1621. It then jumps to present day, where the turkey sets his sights on a bunch of college students. The movie was made on a budget of $3,500, and yeah, it looks bad, but it's also kind of hilarious. It's intentionally bad, but what were you expecting from a movie called ThanksKilling? The movie was made by a bunch of college students in 14 days in 2007. The film premiered at the Sacramento Horror Fest in 2008 and was later released on DVD. Initially, it didn't get much attention, and it took a year for them to sell 1,000 copies. However, thanks to sites like YouTube, clips started making the rounds, and the film started to develop an audience. It got so popular, they made the sequel ThanksKilling 3, The Search for ThanksKilling 2. Not too bad for a killer talking turkey movie made by some college kids on a budget that was about as much as a MacBook. The movie is currently streaming on Roku and Pluto TV. If you want to see the bonus 6th entry or vote on upcoming episodes, please consider joining my Patreon. This week they were voting on these movies, and one of them is the bonus entry. Lots of goodness and badness to come. I'll see you next time.
Nice tits, bitch.